If somebody put me on their homepage, they did it without my permission.
Does that not speak to your vetting process or judgment in any way?
No, it speaks to the fact that I don't know that it's going on. See, they know.
Dr. Ben Carson gaining some support from the debate audience last night after a malicious question from one of the moderators during that CNBC debate.
Now, before the debate, a new Texas poll by Dixie Strategies and Texas CBS affiliate KTVT, Carson and Trump in a statistical tie, with Carson slightly leading, but both are around 22%, followed by Texas Senator Ted Cruz and former Florida Governor Jeb Bush.
Let's talk about the polling numbers and what may be the effect post-debate. And to do so, Brian Graham of the polling company Dixie Strategies, LLC, who just put together that poll, joins us via Skype from Jacksonville, Florida. So that's the pre-debate poll. In the wake of the debate, do you anticipate those numbers changing significantly?
Well, I do. I would think that Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz are probably going to improve after their great performances at the debate.
And we want to talk about Ben Carson because he was taking the lead in several state polls and national polls. What do you think is behind that trend, and do you think it will continue now?
Well, a lot of in these states right now across the country, except for in the early states, the campaigns really don't have much of an infrastructure. They really don't have ads going. They really are not hiring employees. They really are not focusing on them. So most of what you're seeing in these other states, such as Texas, is you're seeing that the attention they're receiving nationally due to their improvements, perhaps in Iowa or New Hampshire, is really helping them all across the country and in nationwide polling. And that's what I think you're seeing with Dr. Ben Carson.
All right, now back in debate number 2, Carly Fiorina turned out to be number 1. That was the consensus. Her poll numbers went up for a while, Brian, but they didn't last. So I guess the question really becomes, when all is said and done, how much do debates affect the polls over the long term in a campaign?
Well, debates matter, and they matter because they get you attention, and they give you the ability, the opportunity at least, to improve upon your numbers. Carly Fiorina really did a great job in the last debate. The second debate, that is. And she really did capitalize on that. She improved her numbers she was way down at the bottom nationwide, and she improved to about the middle of the pack, and still about middle of the pack. I mean, she did go up to near the front, but now she's about the middle of the pack. That is pretty standard. People do receive debate bumps, and then they come back down.
Brian, I want to get your insight. How has polling changed over the years, and does it have as much significance in the past as it does now?
It absolutely does have significance because a lot of people follow polls. I mean, you will see a lot of Republicans, I think, eventually looking at these polling numbers to determine which candidate they think they might want to support. People want to support candidates that are electable, and that is where polling really has some influence.
But there are new technologies, new social media developing all over the place. You know, we look back at history, Brian, and we go to 1960 and we say, Jack Kennedy had it all over Dick Nixon. Or we go to 1980 and say, that third debate, Reagan really took it to Jimmy Carter. But is that same dynamic still at work in terms of the influence of debates in campaigns, or with so many other media sources, with candidates using Twitter and using Facebook and using other social media, has some of the importance attached to debates diminished?
Yes, I think it has. They're still important, but candidates have many, many more opportunities now to reach voters. Things that they would never have had before. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of these new technologies enable these candidates to reach voters in ways they never have before. And so really, let's say you have a bad debate performance. It may not be the end-all be-all. You may have another opportunity to improve. And of course, as we know, there's a lot of time left in this election. The polls are very fluid. I think almost every candidate up there has been ahead or near the top of the field at one point or another. And so what's important to know is that the field is still very fluid.
And is the polling important now, or will it be more important important later down the line?
Well, it's important now because candidates get attention. When candidates are leading a race, they get attention. When you are leading a race, you get more media attention, you get better spots at debate. You know, for instance, if you wind up in the second tier debate, you don't get nearly as much attention as you do in the first tier debate. So sometimes it's what occurred first. Is it the chicken or the egg? People have to do well to get attention still. If you are not newsworthy, no one really cares what you're doing or what you're saying. And it can also affect your fundraising. And
that's why, speaking of being newsworthy, Brian Graham, that's why we were pleased to have you on from Dixie Strategies, because you're a pollster taking a look at all those numbers. Coming up next, maybe this is solace for Jeb Bush. Ed Pozzuoli says, not so fast if you're going to write off the former Florida governor. That's straight ahead.